the joint meeting of the City Council, successor agency to the Redevelopment Agency, Public Finance Authority, Public Utility Authority, Housing Authority, Paris Joint Powers Authority, and the Paris Community Economic Development Corporation of the City of Paris this Tuesday, September 26, 2023, at 6:45 p.m. Madam Clerk, can we have roll call, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Nava.
Here.
Councilmember Corona.
Present.
Councilmember Rab.
Here.
Councilmember Rogers.
Here.
Mayor Vargas.
Here, thank you. Item 3 is our invocation, which will be led by Father Eliseo Leloy Pierre from the St. James the Less Roman Catholic Church. So please stand and join us. Remain standing for item 4, which is our Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Mayor Pro Tem Nava.
Let us now put ourselves in the presence of God as we begin this city council meeting. Almighty and triune God, we give you thanks and praise for all of your mighty works. You are loving and good and gracious. Thank you for creating us and sustaining us day by day. Thank you that you made us in your image to exist in community with our people. We thank you for our city. Thank you for our elected officials, the businesses, the churches, the families, and the individual that make our city a great place that it is. But Lord, we acknowledge that we do not deserve these good gifts. We are not worthy of your favor, for we have sinned against you in thought, word, and deed. We do things that we should not do. We don't do the things that we should do. We have not loved you with all our whole heart, and we have not loved our neighbors as ourselves. We appeal to the Lamb of God, Jesus Christ, who died for our sins. Forgive us and give us hearts of obedience to your holy scriptures. Thank you that Jesus rose from the dead and now reigns as King over heaven and earth. Grant that our city would be known as a righteous city, a city that confesses Jesus as Lord, a city of peace and hope, a city with happy homes, a city that welcomes the strangers, a city that cares for the needy, a city that defends the innocent from evildoers. I pray for this council meeting tonight. Give the council members wisdom and guidance as they deliberate on items before them. May every decision be righteous in your sight, for our benefit and for your glory. We ask this in the name of Jesus the Lord, our Savior. Amen.
Thank you, Father. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
My lights, there it is. Item 5 is report on closed session items. Mr. Koo.
Thank you, Mayor. With respect to items A, B1, B2, and B4, no reportable action was taken. With respect to item B3, the parties in that case are as listed on the agenda. The case is about truck route designation on Ethanak Road, and the council unanimously voted to not appeal on that case.
Thank you. Item 7 is our Youth Advisory Committee communications, which will be given by Yaneli Torres, our Vice President.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council and City staff, good evening. Hello, my name is Yaneli Torres. It is a pleasure for me to hold the position of Vice President for YAC. I will be providing you with an update on the most recent and forthcoming YAC events. To start, one of our key highlights on YAC's calendar is their annual planning session, which is set to take place on September 30th. This event is not just a usual meeting, but a vital moment when the entire committee comes together to chart a course for the year ahead. The planning session embodies YAC's dedication to the city's best interests, and it's a testament to our proactive approach in the shaping the city's future. Furthermore, YAC invites all local youth to showcase their talents and creativity at our upcoming open mic night on Friday, October 6th from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Join us at the Statler Youth Center for a lively evening of performances and entertainment. Share your voice, music, poetry, or any other talent you possess. We look forward to celebrating your unique abilities and celebrating a supported platform for artistic expression. See you there. Additionally, YSC is back hosting regular meetings on the first and third Tuesday of every month. These meetings will be consistent opportunity for members and interested individuals to connect and collaborate with YSC. Meetings are from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. at the here at the Council of Chambers. Finally, YSC would like to remind everyone to please follow us on social media at Paris YSC. For more updates and upcoming events, for more important information on YSC or any events discussed today, feel free to dial the Statler Youth Center. YSC would like to remind everyone to remain safe and healthy. Thank you.
Thank you, Nellie. Item 8 is public comment. This is the time when any member of the public can speak on any matter to the mayor and the city council that is within our jurisdiction, but is not on the agenda. We will allow 3 minutes. Madam Clerk, do you have any requests to speak?
Yes, sir. Marco Hernandez.
Good evening. Hi, good evening. My name is Marco Hernandez. I work for Wabash here in the city of Paris. We are a truck manufacturing facility, and currently we store over 800 chassis, unbuilt chassis in lots, and we are asking for the city of Paris to support us as we need more time with our current lots. We employ currently over 400 employees in the city of Paris, and in dealing with our corporate office and our landlord here in the city of Paris, we just need more time to look for other lots to store our chassis in. But we are going to need more time, and I'm asking the city of Paris for support on this project. It is going to take time. Our corporate office is working diligently with the city of Paris and also our landlord to mitigate and really come to a conclusion with our storage lots here in the city of Paris. But currently, my main thing with the city is just working with the city and getting more time with this project so we could keep storing our chassis. We receive chassis every day in the city of Paris. Right now, currently, we have over 800 on these particular lots, and it's just for us is a peak season as we continue to grow our business here in the city of Paris. We are again looking for other lots to store our unfinished chassis, but we are definitely going to need more time to support us with our current situation. But hopefully the city of Paris, supports us, and we continue to work with the city on improving our storage facilities.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Do me a favor. I don't think any of us knows what we're talking about here. So can you reach out to my office? And I'll be more than happy to set up a meeting with me and along with our city manager or another staff member so we can discuss what you're talking about in further detail.
Sure, will do.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm going to pass my card down to staff. They can give it to you, okay?
Thank you. Thank you, sir. I appreciate your time, and thank you so much, okay?
You're welcome. Madam Clerk, do we have any other requests?
That is all.
Anybody else want to speak? All right, we're going to move on to item 9, approval of minutes. 9A is consideration to approve the minutes of the regular joint meeting held on September 12th, 2023 of the City Council and all the other entities as listed on our agenda. If there are no comments or questions, I'll call for a motion. I have a motion by Councilwoman Rogers, second by Councilman Rabb. Please call a vote.
5-0, motion approved.
Thank you. Item 10 is our consent calendar. These are items that are normally enacted in one motion. The mayor or city council may remove a consent calendar item for a separate action. We will allow public comment to 3 minutes. Council, does anybody have anything they want to pull for separate discussion or vote?
Yes, Mayor, if I could pull item 10A.
10A? Anybody else? All right, hearing nothing else, I'm looking for an approval. Well, let me call for public comment. Madam Clerk, do you have any requests to speak?
No, sir.
Anybody requesting to speak on this item? Consent calendar? All right, looking for a motion for 10B through, as in Mary? B through M as in Mary. I have a motion by Councilwoman Rogers, second by Councilman Rab. Please call the vote.
5-0, motion approved.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem, was that for discussion or just separate vote?
Just a separate vote.
All right, so if I need a motion for item 10A. A motion by Councilman Rab, second by Councilwoman Rogers. Please call a vote.
Rab, Rogers, Vargas, yes. Nava, Corona, no.
Thank you. All right, item 11, public hearings. 10A is consideration to adopt proposed resolution number next in order approving the city's Community Development Block Grant, also known as CDBG, 2022 through 2023, fourth program year consolidated annual performance and evaluation report. This is going to be introduced by our Director of Economic Development and Housing, Michelle Ogawa.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight we have our Principal Management Analyst, Dr. Sarah Cortez de Pavon, to present this item.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, and city staff. The item before you today pertains to the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, also known as the CAPER, for the CDBG program. As you know, annually, the City of Paris receives HUD funding for the CDBG program. Last fiscal year, we received $884,125 to implement the program. And this was to meet community development and housing goals outlined in our 5-year consolidated plan. The CAPER report is due 90 days after the end of the fiscal year. Some of the highlights are for Housing Council Riverside County, they reached 74% of their intended goal by assisting 1,107 residents with fair housing services. The Boys and Girls Clubs of Inland Valley assisted 34 youth in their life-enhancing programs such as homework assistance, tutoring, sports camps, day camps, and special field events. Family Service Association actually exceeded their goal. They assisted 129 senior citizens aged 62 and over at the Paris Senior Center with hot meals. Lifelifters International also exceeded their goal, assisting 36 youth with STEAM and STEM art instruction. Voices for Children met their goal by assisting 6 foster care youth here in Paris. They were provided with court-appointed special advocates, also known as CASA. Love for Life also exceeded their goal. They assisted 50 youths and parents with monthly educational workshops on bullying and suicide prevention, and their parents took part in a 12-session program for parents. Habitat for Humanity Inland Valley, they completed 9 properties through the Senior Home Repair Program for owners who are 62 years of age and older, and 1 minor home repair program rehab was completed under the Minor Home Repair Program. These properties rehabilitated included termite repairs, exterior home painting, replacement of HVAC systems, roof repairs, and installation of new smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. The city's Public Health Department Gear 2 Bike Lane Expansion Project was completed. The map that you see before you, the lines in orange are the bike lanes that were installed throughout the city. So the project was completed September of 2022, and it provided 9,515 low moderate income residents with access to bike lanes within their neighborhoods in the downtown area. Under our housing assistance programs, we did have the CDBG CV program. As you know, the city did receive round 1 and 3 CDBG CV funding to assist with responding, preparing for the COVID-19 pandemic. These funds were used for rental mortgage assistance, and we assisted 9 households. And for utility assistance, we assisted 7 households. Also, under our homeless services, under CV, we did assist 60 homeless individuals with hotel vouchers. The city also receives ARPA funding. $380,000 was allocated for these funds to go towards rental mortgage assistance and utility assistance. We assisted 27 under ARPA for rental mortgage assistance and 29 under utility assistance. And also, the city utilized a portion of its state home funds to provide tenant-based rental assistance, and we assisted 2 individuals with tenant-based rental assistance, which provided 30% of their rent for up to 12 months. In total, 134 people were assisted under the housing programs. While CityNet was not funded under CDBG funds, this is a breakdown of their services through the 2022-2023 fiscal year. They successfully had 109 street exits, with 31 going into shelter. Staff recommends that City Council adopt the resolution approving the 2022-2023 CAPER and direct staff to amend the CAPER as needed and submit to HUD by the due date of September 28. This concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Council. Do we have any questions, comments? I do. Can you go back to the slide for CityNet?
Yes.
So they successfully had 109 street exits. 31 went into a shelter, and the others?
The others, let's see.
Was it a variety of
Yes,
issues?
it's a variety of different
But
destinations. Yeah.
it still means they were taken off the streets still.
Correct. They were removed from the streets, either going into temporary shelter. Some may have returned, but they were constantly engaged in the outreach process.
Great. And they've been here for a full year already?
Yes, they're in their second year.
Okay. Maybe we can get an actual presentation from them someday. Thank you. No one else? All right. Do we have any, I'm going to open up the public hearing. This is not the public hearing. Yes, we are. Madam Clerk, do you have any requests to speak on this item?
No, sir.
Anybody in this audience wishing to speak on this item now? All right, I'm going to close the public hearing, and I'll call for a motion on the resolution. I have a motion by Councilwoman Rogers, second by Councilman Rab. Please call the vote.
Five oh, motion approved.
Great, thank you, Doctor. 11B is consideration to adopt proposed resolution number next in order approving a substantial amendment to reallocate $502,687.59 of unspent and unallocated community development block grants, also known as CDBG funds, from fiscal year 2021 through 2022 and fiscal year 2023 and 2024 annual action plan to eligible activities in the fiscal year 2023 through 2024 annual action plan. And this is going to be introduced by Michelle Ogawa, but actually Dr. Sarah De Pavon.
Thank you, sir. The Consolidated Plan to the CDBG program is a 5-year planning document that outlines the community development and annual housing needs for goals and objectives to meet those needs. The Annual Action Plan is a yearly document which then breaks down the consolidated plan every year, outlining what the city will undertake to meet those community development and housing needs. A substantial amendment to the consolidated plan is required when funds budgeted in the action plan will be moved from one eligible activity to another eligible activity, an amount that is greater than 50% of the receiving activity's allocation, or the receiving activity does not currently exist in the annual action plan. This allocation does constitute a substantial amendment to the consolidated plan. Additionally, this substantial amendment will assist in the city's efforts to meet our timeliness requirement. HUD does emphasize timeliness of expenditures. Every year, HUD does conduct a test 60 days prior to the end of the fiscal year, which is approximately May 1st. The test is on expenditures, not obligations. We are not allowed to have 1.5 times our allocation in our line of credit, and HUD can withhold future grants from CDBG if we consistently do not meet our timeliness. Staff has identified a total of $502,687.59 of funds that are eligible to be reallocated. Broken down, this means that $479,313.59 of unexpended funds from the canceled sewer project has been identified within the 2021-22 action plan to be reallocated. As well, under the current action plan, $23,374 was unallocated, and we are proposing that that also be allocated to a public service project. Staff is recommending that $479,313.59 from the canceled sewer project be moved to the 2020 pedestrian improvement project to allow for the installation of new sidewalks at various locations within eligible CDBG census tracts, where this additional funding can be spent in a timely manner. Additionally, $23,374 of unallocated public service CDBG funds from the current annual action plan to create the Paris Employment Program for this current fiscal year. These funds will allow for soft skills employment training and paid work experience for low-moderate income residents ages 16 to 24. These funds can be reallocated without exceeding the 15% federal statutory cap for public services. Staff is requesting that City Council approve the reallocation of $502,687.59 and unexpended funds from the 21 City Sewer Project and unallocated funds from the 23-24 Annual Action Plan to provide additional funding to the existing 2020 Citywide Pedestrian Improvement Project and to create the Paris Employment Program. This concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Doctor. And Council, just for info only before I open a public hearing, this item was brought to our CDBG committee, and we did approve it to go forward to the full council for approval. Okay, Madam Clerk, I'll open up the public hearing. 7:05, 7:07. You have any requests to speak?
No, sir.
Anybody wishing at this time to speak on this particular item? Okay, we're going to close the public hearing at 7:07. And I'll call for a motion on the resolution. I have a motion by Councilwoman Rogers, second by Councilman Corona. Please call a vote.
Five oh, motion approved.
Thank you. Item 11C is consideration to adopt proposed resolution number next in order and adopt the first reading of a proposed ordinance number next in order regarding a specific plan amendment, SPA 21-05267, tentative partial map 21-05086, TPM 38259, and development plan review, DPR 21-00005. This is a proposal to consider the following entitlement to facilitate the construction of a 753 square foot industrial building on 35.63 acres located on the south side of Harley Knox Boulevard between Patterson Avenue and Nevada Avenue, within the general industrial and light industrial zones of the Paris Valley Commerce Center specific plan. Specific plan amendment will be to remove unimproved segments of California Avenue and Nance Street from the circulation plan 2. Tentative partial map to consolidate 38 existing parcels into one 35.63 acre parcel. And 3, development plan review for the site plan and building elevations. The applicant is Nicole Torsvet, Patterson's Limited Partnership. And this is going to be introduced by our Director of Development Services, Mr. Kenneth Fung.
Good evening, Mayor, member of the City Council. This item will be presented by our consultant planner, Doug Fenn.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. The item before you tonight is a project that was continued from September 12th Planning Commission hearing. The proposal is to consider the following applications to facilitate the construction of a 764,753 square foot industrial warehouse facility. There are 3 parts to this project. The first one is the legislative item for the specific plan amendment to remove segments of 2 paper streets, California Avenue and Nance Street, from the circulation plan of the Paris Valley Commerce Center specific plan, PVCCSP. The second part is for the tentative parcel map to consolidate the existing 38 parcels into one parcel, 35.6 acres, to facilitate for the development plan review of the site plan and building elevations. As you can see in this aerial, the project is generally south of Harley Knox. It is west of Patterson Avenue and bounded to the east by Nevada Avenue. To the south, you can see that the project site is currently bisected by what is Nance Street. That's an unimproved road. And to the south is an existing industrial warehouse development project that was recently developed. The existing PVCCSP land use is the general plan designation for 26.31 acres for the light part of the parcel. And the lower part, south of Nance Street, is 9.32 acres. That is light industrial. Both of those land use designations allow for industrial warehouse. The site plan before you, you can see how it's plotted, that it's the main access for autos and trucks to the site is via Patterson Avenue. To the north is the first truck access for right in and then left in. And you take that drive aisle, goes all the way over to Nevada to that loading area. Off of Nance Street, which you see is the other primary truck access. And you take that to the north and you go serpentine around, and that is the loading area on the west side. On this drive aisle, there will be a 14-foot high screen wall, so the aisle and the loading area will be screened from Patterson from that wall. Auto access is separate from the truck. To the north, off of California, the full auto access is to the west there, and then you can go up to the north for additional parking. And then to the further south is a full auto access to the facility. This is primarily set up that there could be 2 office areas. There are 2 outdoor and 2 indoor amenities for this project, which is required by the code. Just real quick, that there are 49 dock doors on the west side. Most of the other dock doors, 64, are on the east side for a total of 113 dock doors with 137 trailer parking spaces. This project was reduced for parking down to 275 per the direction of the Planning Commission. And there are 15 EV spaces which were required per the EIR, and there are also 124 EV-ready spaces for future EV parking. Now, as you know, the legislative part of this, the specific plan, amendment. This is a good outline of showing, you got California that pretty much terminates currently at Patterson, and the rest of the parcel is undeveloped. There is no street. And to the south, you have Nance, which is highlighted in that blue shaded area. There is that unimproved dirt road. This shows the two areas where for the vacation of the streets, and that is the specific plan amendment portion of it. And those are to be vacated, the right-of-ways for the future development of this project. I'm just going to go through real quick just some of the renderings. This is an example of what it looks like from Patterson. From the street, you see the one end, and both ends mirror each other. As far as the office portion, you have a recessed glazing, and this is showing from the north portion via Patterson. But on this slide, you will see what I referred to earlier was that 14-foot high screen wall from Patterson. You see those little vertical gray elements, kind of like the pilasters in the wall, and then the brown cap. On the other side of that is the drive aisle for the trucks, and then they drive around and then park in the loading area. That's just to give you a representation of what it will look like from Patterson. And this gives you also per the direction recently from the Planning Commission, this project has grays, several gray tones of paint and texture, the concrete. And on this particular project, you will see a lot of the projects have, blue reflective glazing. This one has like more of a bronze reflective glazing, which is kind of different from the rest of a lot of projects that you've seen in the past. There are two community benefits to this project. The construction of the off-site master plan storm drain system north of Harley Knox, known as Lateral B, and on the exhibit you can see, the hard, wide red line. It says proposed Lateral B. That is the location of where they're going to be doing the construction for the Lateral B. And that is going to be approximately about $3 million for them to do that work. That includes construction, project management, and trenching and such. And they also are donating $400,000 to the Val Verde School District First School Facilities Department. Okay, the environmental process. The EIR was prepared for this project. Planning received 4 comments during the 45 public review period, which is typical for EIRs. And during that 45-day period, we received comments from the South Coast, Lake Creek Industrial, Bloom, Collins, and HOLP on behalf of Golden State Environmental Justice Alliance, and Adams, Rodwell, Joseph, Cardoza, attorneys at law on behalf of California Alliance for Responsible Economy, CARE California. And before the Planning Commission, we had received another letter and the response, and we were supposed to have a city council meeting on August 29th. And that afternoon, we received additional letters from the same representatives from Adam, Broadwell, Joseph, and Cardoza, Golden State Environmental Justice Alliance, Bloom, Collins, and that's the reasons for the continuation of the project till tonight, because to give time to respond to the letters. And basically, the claimants reaffirmed that their concerns throughout this process primarily are concerns of noise and air quality. There are some other ancillary issues, but those are the primary ones. The environmental consultant responded with letters that do not include concerns that were already addressed in the EIR. The final environmental impact report was complied with the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines. The FEIR concludes that all impacts have been reduced to a significant level and have been reduced to below a significant level with the implementation of mitigation measures. As recommended by the Planning Commission of the City Council in their report, that the City Council and staff's concurrence that to adopt the resolution certifying the environmental impact report, adopting the mitigation reporting program, along with the findings of fact. Adopt a resolution approving the tentative parcel map 2105086, TPM 38259, and the development plan review, DPR 210005. And lastly, to introduce the first reading of the ordinance approving the specific plan amendment, SPA 2105267, to facilitate the construction of the industrial warehouse project before you. That concludes my presentation. I do know that the applicant is here. They have a presentation before you, and I know there's other parties that are interested in this project that want to share their point of view.
Thank you, Doug. Council, before I open up the public hearings, anybody have any brief comments or questions? All right, see nobody in the queue. We're going to go ahead and open up the public hearing at 7:20. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
Yes, sir. Saxters.
Mr. Mayor, just to clarify, before we open the public hearing portion to the public, it'd be appropriate for us to request to see if the applicant has a presentation they would like to make.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Where's the applicant? Hang tight, comments. We'll get to you guys in a minute.
Good evening. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. My name is Nicole Torstvedt. I'm with Prologis. First, we'd like to thank city staff, especially Kenneth Fung, Patricia Barnes, Doug Fenn, and John Prokazemi. Duke Realty initially purchased this property and brought this property to the city in 2020 as our first new development after the COVID pause. Through multiple site plan updates, staff has worked tirelessly to ensure that we're providing the city the best project possible. So thank you for working with us and getting us in front of council this evening. During the time that we've been working with staff on our entitlements, Duke Realty merged with Prologis, becoming the leading industrial company globally. Amongst other highlights, Prologis has consistently been ranked the most sustainable real estate company in the world, with all of our projects obtaining LEED Silver certified or better, as well as being number 2 producer of on-site solar energy in the country, only behind Target. By 2025, Prologis will become carbon neutral in our construction and by 2030 in our operation activities. And we just completed construction of our first net zero building in the Netherlands. Duke is a long-time and leading partner with the City of Paris. We have continuously given back to the city, whether it's volunteering with local groups or providing financial resources for scholarships and sponsorships. With the Prologis merger, we can provide even more resources to the communities we work in. This year, we have been active in the community, having sponsored Paris Panthers youth football and cheer program, the local AYSO, Boys and Girls, State of the City. We also volunteer quarterly with the Public Works Department to do citywide cleanups. This is a photo of the existing site. As Doug mentioned, it is vacant. This is a zoomed-in picture of Nance Street. And we have the Public Works Yard to the north, cannabis facilities to the north, as well as the March Air Force Base clear zone to the east, and industrial to the south and the west. This is just a reminder that we're consistent with the general plan land use. And as Doug mentioned, when we went to Planning Commission, they did have some comments. So we did add a 3-foot landscape buffer between the street and the sidewalk. We added additional 36-inch box trees, the Chinese elm that I know you guys like. We reduced the auto parking in order to increase the required landscape from 10% to 13%. And we worked with ALUC and the city to maximize the landscape, as we have to comply with March Air Force Base landscaping guidelines due to the proximity of the base. And we added additional signage, a lighted crosswalk at the southerly portion of the building for pedestrian safety. As with all projects, we look to see how we can benefit the community in which we are a part of. With this project, we've partnered with Valverde Unified School District as well as on a future project. This project will contribute $400,000 to support the construction of an outdoor green space and amphitheater for the district and the surrounding community. The district had hoped to attend this evening but was unable to due to a previously planned engagement. And that's a copy of their support letter. In addition to our partnership with Valverde, we've partnered with the city and flood control to install a regional storm drain lateral B8, which is highlighted in turquoise on there, to alleviate drainage issues in North Paris. This is a minimum of a $3 million community benefit. However, recent construction bids over the last few weeks total close to $8 million, which is more than double than what we had expected. We're not seeking a reimbursement agreement for this excess cost, and this lateral will unlock additional economic development. Highlighted in yellow is about 150 acres that it unlocks within North Paris, and it will also solve for the flooding within this region. Duke Realty and Prologis are proud partners with local labor, such as Liuna and Carpenters, and we are committed to only hiring GCs that are signatory to labor unions. And this concludes my presentation. In addition to myself, we also have our CEQA consultant, architect, and civil engineer to answer any questions you may have.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Appreciate it. Okay, back to public speakers, Madam Clerk.
Zach Strasters.
Hi, good evening. Thank you to all present. First and foremost, let me say that Prologis has a net worth of over $112 billion. As of December last year, the company owned about 5,500 buildings comprising about 1.2 billion square feet in 19 countries. So let me tell you, praise the Lord that they're adding $400,000 to infrastructure development for local schools at Valverde, but let me give you a heads up. These guys need to be doing tens of millions of dollars, not hundreds of thousands of dollars, because over the lifetime of one of these projects, one of these warehouses, at the scope and size that it is, you can guarantee that there are going to be sick kids and families. First. Second of all, the fact that they're flaunting that they have a LEED Silver certification, every single Prologis warehouse should come with full LEED Platinum. There's no reason that they can't be doing here what they're doing in the Netherlands. Why are you promoting what you're doing in the Netherlands when is Riverside not worth it? Is Paris not worth it? Why are you projecting what you're doing there if you can't meet those standards here? And furthermore, the fact that they're taunting that they have signatories, but there are at least 3 or 4 other labor unions that are here that have members locally in Paris that weren't invited to this project. Why? Is it because their pockets aren't big enough? No, they're second only to Target in the world for the amount of solar that they're able to take in. Where are the rest of the unions that ought to be brought to the table on this? Do your homework on this project, and let me tell you, the threshold that you set for a Prologis project, every single other industrial developer that comes will only be held to that standard. If you don't hold the line here, you won't hold the line anywhere else. So everybody in the community that watches this online is also going to understand, and they're going to do their homework. And look at the stock value. Look at their CEO has a watch that's worth more than, let me not even go there. The bottom line is this, that you have the power to hold them accountable to a higher standard. You have the power to set up a community benefits package that will last not just years, but generations. And Prologis is already far enough in the project. They've already spent so many tens of millions. They'll pay it. So the question is not suiting them. They're going to come back again. How many warehouses and how many square feet are still available for development in Paris and Riverside County? Trust me, they'll be back. Hold them accountable. This is your opportunity. Hold the line.
Amy Smith.
Navigating the road over there.
Hold on. Madam Clerk, who's the next person?
Robert, AKA 416 Mad Dog.
Robert, can you have a seat up front so we can get you going? Up front. Up front, sir. Yeah.
He wants you to keep me company.
This way you'll be next right away.
Sorry. sorry, we're good? All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Amy Smith, and I'm here speaking on behalf of CARE California. This project is fundamentally bad for the city of Paris, and this is evident when you review the EIR, which fails to properly analyze and mitigate the significant impacts that this project will bring. Specifically, I'd like to address tonight the significant health risks that this project poses to the community of Paris in regards to valley fever. Soil disturbance during this project will last approximately 1 year, if not more, and may result in potentially significant health impacts from valley fever. Yet, the DEIR does not make any mention of valley fever, nor the health risk assessment has failed to analyze the health risks and impacts that this project will bring. I'd like to call your attention to the fact that Riverside County has seen a significant rise in the instances of valley fever. This isn't something that we're just bringing up for funsies. This isn't a fun thing to talk about. The reported incidences rose from just 57 in the year 2015 to over 455 in 2021. That's significant. I'm sorry if you don't understand the word significant, but that's significant, and Prologis has not acknowledged that. The reduction in the exposure to valley fever spores is necessary to protect both the construction workers that will be on this project and our local residents. Their safety, their health is the #1 priority that needs to be called to attention. Our air quality experts proposed feasible mitigation measures to reduce the impacts of valley fever, and yet they were failed to be addressed, and no such proper mitigation measures have been implemented. Public health and safety have been overlooked and neglected. It is your responsibility to honor the residents of the city of Paris and the residents of Riverside County. The city must address these issues and mitigate the impacts of valley fever in a revised version of this before this project can be approved. That is the only movement in good conscience that you can be making tonight. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Who's next after Robert?
Yes, good evening. My name is Robert Lugan.
Robert, hang on. Who's next after Robert?
Efrain Lopez.
Efrain, can you come up to the front? Okay, Robert, go ahead.
Yes. Good evening. My name is Robert Lugan. I am a 40-year resident here in the IE, and I retired out here working for different union trades, and I oppose this project because Prolongs is not transparent of what trades he's going to be ushering out here, and I believe that the city of Paris deserves the best trades and education training through the apprenticeship program. So I oppose of it, and I wish you vote no on this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next?
Al Sanchez.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Efrain Lopez. I am a proud member of La UNA, the Labor's International Union of North America. I am speaking tonight in support of the proposed Patterson Enhanced project. This project will bring good-paying jobs to Paris. It will be built by professional trained and skilled construction workers from a state-accredited training facility. This ensures everything will be done with the highest degree of safety and responsibility. This project is an absolute win for everyone. Please move forward with this project so that we can start to build something beautiful and beneficial for the great city of Paris. Thank you.
Louis Lopez.
My name's Al Sanchez. Thank you for letting me be here. I'm with Ephraim. I'm going to jump on just some other stuff. I'm lucky enough to be in this union since I was 19 years old. During that whole time, I've been able to have a pension, insurance. I've been able to work with apprentices through the years. Jobs like this, developers like this, they pay the right wages, or else we wouldn't be able to survive in this economy right now. Every time you hear one of these projects, they're getting better and better. The world's growing, we can't stop that. Like I said, I remember the first couple times I heard these projects, they weren't given nothing. you guys probably know, you've been around here. Every year is given more and more, and thank you for your time, and we want this project to go through.
Thank you.
Eric Rosas Avila.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, staff, community. My name is Louis Lopez. I'm here as a representative of Ironworkers Local 433, and we stand in strong opposition to this project. Local 433 proudly supports veterans and formerly incarcerated and those looking for an honest shot at a second chance. We had hoped that this developer would choose to hire responsible contractors who will hire locally, provide living wages, and ensure benefits to the workforce. Instead, Prologis has failed to reach out to the community, and this is a true failure to the residents and the city of Paris. Show the people of Paris that you care and vote no tonight. Thank you.
Kilila Fetterman.
Good evening. My name is Eric Rosas Avila. I'm here on behalf of the thousands of hardworking men and women at Ironworkers Local 433. Prologis has failed to understand that when you're undertaking a project that has significant community impact, you use responsible contractors and you hire locally. Prologis has sent a clear message that they're only here to profit at the expense of the community and its workers. We cannot and will not stand idly while our men and women are overlooked for an opportunity to help with the development of our community. We humbly request that you support us with the vote against this project and to Prologis commits to hire responsible contractors and local hire. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Robert Ramos.
Good evening. My name is Kalila Fetterman on behalf of Californians Allied for a Responsible Economy, or CARE California. CARE California has participated in the environmental review process for this project since December 2022. CARE California has submitted numerous comment letters to the city and expert consultant reports, which explain that the project still fails to comply with state and local law and cannot be approved until the city prepares a legally adequate environmental review document. In particular, the project fails to comply with the California Environmental Quality Act because the project results in potentially significant environmental impacts that were not fully analyzed or mitigated as required by law, including unmitigated impacts on air quality, public health, and noise. The final EIR does not resolve a number of issues raised in CARE California's comments. CARE California's air quality expert consultant found that the project results in significant air quality and public health impacts. The FEIR fails to include sufficient mitigation to mitigate these impacts to the greatest extent feasible. The air quality and public health impacts of the project remain significant and unmitigated. CARE California's noise consultant also found that the project has significant unmitigated construction noise and operational noise that may be harmful to people living and working near the project site. For these reasons and those discussed in our comment letters, the City Council cannot make the necessary findings to approve the project. For one, the Paris Municipal Code provides that no parcel map shall be considered filed until all provisions of CEQA have been complied with. But here, all provisions of CEQA have not been complied with due to the city's failure to prepare a legally adequate EIR, which analyzes and mitigates all the project's potentially significant impacts. Thus, the City Council cannot make the required findings to approve the tentative parcel map at this time. The same goes for the development plan review and specific plan amendment approvals. The City Council cannot approve the project because the EIR must be revised and recirculated to accurately reflect the project's significant environmental impacts and mitigate the impacts to the greatest extent feasible. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Robert Ramos. I'm here as a representative of Ironworkers Local 416, and we are opposed to this project. Every project comes before the City Council in an opportunity to strengthen our middle class in Paris, to fight for the working families and their children, and to send a message to their constituents that you care about their needs. As with many developers, Prologis is giving as little as possible back to the community. They also failed to reach out to the community and have failed the city of Paris. The question is whether or not the council will allow them to do this until this developer signals that they care about the city of Paris and the skilled and trained workers in their community, we ask you to vote no on this project. Thank you.
That is all.
All right, anybody else wishing to speak on this item? Come on up, state your name, sir.
Good evening. My name is Adrian Hawkes. I've been living in the city for about 10 years. And I drive up and down the 215 corridor. And these trucks, these warehouses, they've stripped mine the whole community here. I can't even drive down the corridor without risking, my windshield being broken all the time, my car getting a flat tire because that freeway is a mess. And this other warehouse, I know it's a moot point at this point because you're probably going to vote on it anyways. But that $400,000 they're going to give to Valverde, they should just give it to the cancer research because that's what the kids are going to probably get from all this pollution. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else wishing to speak on this matter? Applicant, do you want to readdress? Nicole?
Yeah, we're going to have, yes, we'll have Christian Cochran with Prologis address the union comments.
Good evening. Thanks for having us. I love seeing the
Can you
public-
speak closer to the mic,
Yep.
please?
I love having the public discourse. Thanks for having us tonight. So there's questions on which unions Prologis has agreements on and which scope of work those unions cover or that are union labor. So we have an agreement with La Una, and that covers all concrete work on site and the building, which, as you know, you've approved warehouses before. That's the bulk of the building. It also covers site wet utilities and landscape and irrigation under La Una. And we also have our agreement with our carpenters that do the panelized roof structure. And we also have a national agreement with Panelized Industries, which is a signatory to the union. So we only use Panelized on our project, so it's union. We also use Greg Electric, which is a union electrician contractor. So we're very proud of our union agreements, and our union fellowship. So I just want to make sure you really understood that we are not anti-union. Prologis is very union, very local orientated. So thank you for hearing me out tonight.
And then I have Eliza with Webb, who's our CEQA consultant, that will address the CARE CA comments.
Good evening, Mayor and honorable council members. My name is Eliza Laws. As Nicole mentioned, I am with Albert A. Webb Associates, a senior project manager, preparing the EIR with the city. The CARE CA has submitted comment letters in response to the draft EIR, as I mentioned back in December. Those comments were responded to in our final EIR. Subsequent comment letters were provided by CARE CA prior to Planning Commission meetings and the prior City Council meetings that were continued. Those comments were all thoroughly reviewed and no new environmental issues were raised in those. And that is the reason why no recirculation of the EIR is required and that no further revisions to the environmental document are necessary. And if there are any other questions, I'd be happy to try to answer those.
Thank you.
And then lastly, to address the LEED comment. So LEED Silver is a minimum standard for us. We do try to go above and beyond that. The highest you can get is LEED Platinum, which is very difficult to obtain. And LEED is based on a point system on how you acquire each certification. And I believe I've hopefully addressed all of the questions from the public.
Thank you. Councilman Rad, did you have a comment or question?
We can go back to the map showing
the project site?
You want the staff's report?
Either or. I think the staff one showed.
We'll let staff do it.
Yeah, it showed the Nance street vacation.
Where's our planner guy? Oh.
Is this the one you wanted?
Yes. that
The
one's
street
perfect.
vacation?
I see, so we were vacating, or the vote to vacate California Avenue and Nance Street. Who came with the proposal to vacate Nance Street? Because it looks like a street, ultimately, when we do if we were to develop it, it would take off some of the traffic off of Harley Knox and some of the traffic south of Markham. Was it Prologis that came to the city and said, hey, we're gonna build this 700,000 square foot warehouse, we need both of these streets vacated? Or was it the city that said, hey, we're not gonna do anything with this strip south of Nance, you might as well vacate that street?
In a circumstance like this, it's usually the developer approaching the city of a concept. Okay. If the city would even agree to go forward with it or not, or support it.
Okay, so it was the developer that came forward, the vacate Nance? Is that?
It was you guys, right?
So initially, we came forward with a smaller building that did not include the vacation of Nance Street. And within meeting with city staff, they notated that the parcel south of Nance, you really couldn't develop there, and asked if we would be interested in potentially looking at purchasing those parcels. We did our research. We decided to move forward with purchasing those parcels with the thought that the city would approve the vacation of Nance.
What would happen if, say, we were okay with vacating California Avenue, and we said, no, we don't want to vacate Nance at this time? Would you develop the site south of Nance to like maybe a smaller business park building, or your project would just die?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I would have to go back to my capital deployment team, and they would determine that as to whether we would develop the south half or if the project would die.
Okay, and then regarding LiUNA versus the not versus the ironworkers, but LiUNA ironworkers, there's no way to maybe bring both of those unions on and make sure everybody has a development in the construction of the project, or?
Right now, as it is, the ironworkers are under the umbrella of CARE-CA. And CARE-CA also has other unions under their umbrella. So we're concerned that those conflict with our current agreements. So we're still assessing that.
Okay. And then this might be another question for the developer. I know you've committed to give $400,000 to Val Verde. I think one of the speakers mentioned, you know, your income, your company's income. I looked it up here. It was $26 billion. And I think your CEO, he had his watch stolen. It ranged anywhere from $12,000 to $2 million. Any way you guys can give us some more money? Because we're actually vacating 2 streets for this.
So we felt that the regional storm drain that's going to cost approximately $8 million was a very large community benefit to fix the flooding as well as fix the flooding issues, as well as open up all of the other parcels that cannot develop without that storm drain. And we had felt that that was a fair community benefit for the size of the project.
And can you clarify, and you weren't seeking credits or reimbursements for that?
Correct. So we thought 8 million plus 400,000 was.
You guys made $26 billion last year. Is there any way maybe to give us a little bit more money? Or give the community, you know, actually, community benefit, you know, we're opening up more land for development, but how does that actually benefit, say, a poor kid going to Val Verde School District? Oh, yes, we're opening up more land, you can build another warehouse. But at the end of the day, the 400,000, you know, there's kids who, they don't have the opportunity to, you know, live up in San Francisco, go to these elite schools. They're having to deal with all this. And we already have, like, I don't know, billions of warehouse development in this.
I understand. So we're active in the community all year long, not with just this project. As I had mentioned, you know, we work with Boys and Girls Club, with AYSO, with the Panthers, with Public Works, just doing community service and volunteer work. So we're not just a company who comes in, builds, and leaves. We own, operate, and manage all of our properties, so we feel that we are part of this community, and we're constantly giving to the community throughout the year, not just with one project. And I also mentioned we have another project coming down the line that we will also be partnering with Valverde for and giving additional monies, as well as continuing our community service efforts throughout the community.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes.
Councilman Corona?
Thank you, Mayor. So going back to, I guess, the labor disagreements, I'm very happy to see that you are bringing in labor and for your projects. I think it's a great way of helping out the community, and being City of Paris has well, I don't want to speak for everybody, but in the past we have been pro labor. But I do understand that you are using LIUNA, you're using electrical workers and stuff like that. But I'm not a professional in construction work, but I'd imagine that there's rebar work.
Yeah, that's union also.
Okay, but that's not the iron workers.
No, that's covered under the LIUNA agreement, under the tilt-up agreement.
Okay, so okay, have you had discussions with the iron workers? Are you still talking to them?
We haven't had direct discussions with them because of their being under the CARE CA.
Okay, and because of that, you can't.
Because
I know you kind of explained that a little bit, but can you
Yeah.
clarify that one?
Yeah, so CARE CA has other unions underneath their umbrella, and those agreements would be in conflict with our current agreements, with the same trades being under the same unions. So does that make sense? I think.
I guess it does, but I'm
So
I'm just wondering if that's.
If the wet utility contractors under the LIUNA agreement and CARE CA, let's say, has pipe fitters, then it's going to be a conflict between two different agreements. So,
Okay.
yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I would like to ask, maybe there's a representative from the iron workers, kind of, to clarify.
The public comment period is still open.
Okay, can I request somebody from the iron workers to kind of clarify?
I'm looking at the attorney, hold on.
Oh,
Mr. Mayor, if I may, if the public comment section of the public hearing is reopened, then we will.
I haven't
also-
closed it yet.
I understand. We would also have to allow the applicant to do a rebuttal as well. Just want to clarify that.
right, which is fine.
Okay.
Are you the,
Local iron workers, local 416.
okay?
Enforcement, rebar.
Okay, no, I definitely heard a speech about, we gotta do more for the worker, but just kind of specifically the spiel without, I guess, crossing any conflict of interest, or, just, without getting into legal specifics that they can't talk about, is that,
Right.
I mean,
Well, I'll give
Okay.
you a general overview.
I just wanna be
with
careful.
Yeah. So typically, everybody has their own scope of work, right? As iron workers, we go through the apprenticeship program. We're trained and skilled, thousands of hours, 4-year program. They have not reached out to us to come out to make an agreement on this. Rebar is our specialty, our scope of work. My brother over here at 433, he's gonna have some structural work on the roof, right?
There could be some structural in there if there's a mezzanine floor, but there's also.
You got to come up to the microphone.
There's also miscellaneous iron and also architectural iron. One thing I want to point out to the city, and I thank you for your guys' concern for us. I think most of us have been involved in the city for some time. Going back to the community workforce agreement that's actually in place, I know it's on Public Works, that includes all 17 of the unions within the building trades. So it's proven. We've been in the same chambers before, or City Hall, and actually worked together on projects. All of us trades, all the trades. I don't think I'm saying anything that some people may not understand, but there is a community workforce agreement that includes all of us. And when a developer comes into town, that would be a pretty clear, transparent template to kind of go off of. With that being said, I thank you for asking to come up and with a little bit more clarification. Thank you, Councilmember Corona.
yeah, Yeah, I definitely appreciate it. Now, if you have something to add, but it's just kind of weird. Like we've never ever had two unions opposing one for it, one opposing, and stuff like that. So just kind of new to us. I would appreciate to have the time to kind of speak to you guys maybe on another day and stuff like that. But for us, it's kind of throwing us off. Well, for me at least. Because like to me, I've always been part of. I myself am part of a union. I'm a teacher union in the teacher union, and to have say the certificated and classified going at it with each other just seems counterproductive. But have you guys discussed with LIUNA as well? Have you guys met?
We do many projects with our brothers and sisters from LIUNA, and we work hand in hand together.
Right. Okay.
This has nothing to do with LIUNA and us. It's just
Gotcha, okay.
developer, and I don't want to talk.
Right.
I'm a man of faith. I try to I try to be polite, but there's just no sense. I raised 8 daughters,
wow.
so it's like if I were to come home and give 4 of my daughters ice creams and the other 4 are standing over there, there's going to be a problem, and it's not my kids' problem, it's the parenting problem.
Okay. Now, is this going on with other projects, or is this the first one, the only project?
I think this has been the first one for the city of Paris. Okay. But we've had other dealings with Prologis within the Inland Empire. That's my brother here, who's actually the representative for 416 reinforcing, and I'm the business agent for 433 structural. So it's been a little bit of a struggle getting Prologis to see, the dynamics of including all the unions. It's not that hard.
Yeah. So you would disagree maybe with the comments that were stated that they can't do it because of the care, they fall under the umbrella? Is that, do you agree with that, disagree with that?
I'm going to agree with that. They can work with all unions. That's what this city has a community workforce agreement. And I know I'm
Yeah,
not
we do.
saying anything to you
Yeah.
guys that you don't know.
Oh, yeah.
That
Yeah,
community workforce agreement involves all the building trades.
Okay. Yeah, I think the city of
all
Paris
the
was
trades.
probably one of the first to do it, and we're very proud of that, which is
Absolutely.
why having this. is kinda new to
Absolutely.
us, so.
I got
Absolutely.
just a point though, and we all supported our CWA, but that refers to city projects, not a private developer.
Correct. I
So
totally
just-
understand
I just
that.
want to make that point.
No, absolutely. Yeah,
All right,
that's on
thank you.
public money projects. But
So who do you want to rebut this? The developer?
Mr. Mayor, because you reopened the public hearing to the public, you should, I would recommend that you see if anyone else wants to make public comment, and then once that's done, I would ask that.
And I can bring back the applicant?
The applicant, correct.
All right, so obviously, anybody from LIUNA or somebody else in the community wants to come up and make any comments?
No, thank you for your time and addressing our concerns. Thank you.
Anybody else? So I have some comments, but I'm going to let the developer or the applicant come up and make their rebuttal.
Yeah, I just have one quick statement. I think it was represented right there of the conflict of where our our rebar contractors work under the LIUNA agreement, under our union concrete. So right there is just an example of where the conflict would be. Thank you.
Did you understand that?
No,
I
don't understand that either.
Can you be more a little clear on what you just stated? What's the conflict?
So the gentleman mentioned that he was with the rebar union that does structural steel. We also have that agreement in our tilt-up agreement under LIUNA. That's all.
All right, but I think that so now's my time. Go ahead and have a seat. I'm a union person. I retired as a cop with the unions. We all support, and like Councilman Corona said, I mean, you guys are really putting us in a hard spot here because in my 7 years as a mayor, 6 years as a school board member, have never had a union come in here and tell us to oppose a project that other union is working on. It's not fair to us, and I've had unions come here saying how they want us to be, they want to stay close to home and work, so we're doing that, or we have a business doing that, and then I have another union opposing that, and it's like, so we're really being put in between a rock and a hard place. And I have spoken to both sides, both unions as well as developers. And my understanding is the developer has an agreement with these two unions. My question, since I haven't closed it, to the two, is there someone representing LaUna? Or is it you guys just union workers? I don't mean to say just. Is there a lead person?
Good evening, everyone. Alex Zamora. I'm with the regional office for LaUna.
Perfect. Okay, so you got from the regional, I got someone from 433 as well as 416. Have the three, you can sit down, sir. I just wanted to make sure that you were here.
May I make a quick comment?
Well, I called for you and no one came up. Let me finish and then I'll let you come up and say something.
Okay.
So my question is to all three of you lead persons, per se. Have you guys been on projects, other projects where all three unions are there working together in solidarity, as we say that, as union workers? All right. That speaks a lot for me, developers. Mr. LaUna, I'm sorry, sir, I can't remember his name, but please go ahead and come up and make your comment.
You can call me that. That's fine. So again, just like our brothers from the Iron Workers mentioned, there's been way too many partnerships that we've done together on a lot of projects, a lot of community workforce, community benefits, project labor agreements, you name it. Typically with these private projects, obviously I only advocate for my own organization. We don't do business for other unions and we don't put down them. They're our union brothers. If the developer wants to work something out, then we welcome them. If not, our guys are more than capable, especially on these private projects, to do the work if need be. The development agreement states that, just like he said, and it goes by contractor preference. So again, we do not oppose any other trade out there. It's just, right now, this is how it's written. If that makes sense, hopefully.
I mean, it does and it doesn't, you know. It's not helping us when we support unions.
Again,
and
this is a very.
I've got 4 unions in here.
Agreed, and this is a
altogether.
very gray area. So I wouldn't expect a lot of people outside of the trade unions to really understand how the negotiations or the development agreements work.
But on that note too, who am I to dictate to them how you, 433, 416 operate
Correct.
business? You guys got to go back to your big bosses and say, hey, we have
Absolutely.
so this is an internal conflict going on with our unions, unfortunately, that you guys need to get this worked on. Come to some
And-
kind of an agreement. Let us know, the electeds, not.
and again-
Hold on, hold on.
Okay, but you said it was a conflict. We don't have a conflict with our other brothers in the trades. There's no conflict. There's no conflict.
I'm sorry, I've got 2 unions here opposing this project, and one union saying we want it. I mean, to me, that's a conflict. And it puts a conflict, hold on, I gave you time, let me
Yes, sir.
finish. It puts a conflict on us, because we too are brothers and sisters of unions.
Correct.
Mr. Public, what's your title? The attorney?
The city attorney.
David, what's your title? Deputy DA, are you part of a union? Yes. You're a union?
Very proud
I'm a
of it.
retired union. Were you a union when you worked? Jeez, mama. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
We're brothers and sisters here, and
Yes.
we're being put in a position.
I understand, and like I mentioned before, you guys have a tough job. You have to hear from both sides, and you can't side with one or the other. I get it. They're kind of canceling each other out. So I would refer back to questions to the developer regarding the agreement.
Yeah, all right, thank you. You can have a seat. All right, I want to bring the union representative for the developer back up one more time, sir. Does anybody else have anything? Because I want to close public comment after this.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, before you have the developer representative address those comments, because you allowed the LaUna representative to come up, you have to reopen the public comment period to everybody again. And
I
then-
have not closed public comment, Mr. City Attorney. I've already listened to 316, 416, 433. Like, no one came up from Laguna until this gentleman came up now. So I'm going to address the developer. We've heard from all the unions now. I don't think I need to reopen again. I haven't even closed.
It's more to allow anyone else to speak before.
So for people from the public.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, let me finish what I'm doing here first with this gentleman. I lost my train of thought now.
Understood.
You've heard all the conversation. What is the position with the developers? I mean, is this concrete, solid and concrete what you're doing moving forward with the project? Or is there room for conversation?
There's room for conversation.
Perfect, that's all I wanted to hear. 416, 433, did you want to make any final comments? Don't ruin what's going on, I got going here for you. And another question real quick, with staff and Nicole, is this a time-sensitive project? Guys, let her answer that question real quick. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's okay.
It is time sensitive, but not.
I'm not trying to say move the meeting to next year. I'm just, if we had to push it one more meeting, is that going to be a big deal?
No.
Okay, thank you. All right, guys, quick comments.
Robert Ramos, 416, Ironworkers. I strongly still opposing this project till we meet with the developer. The sooner the better, so we could iron this out. That's all I wanted to say. So I just gave
I'm
my
pretty
part.
sure I brought that to the table already, sir. Yes.
Mayor Vargas, council members, staff, I would humbly ask the same to allow some more time that we can meet with the developer. Thank
All
you.
right. Okay, Nicole, did you, go ahead.
I was just going to ask Councilmember Rab what his ask was. So if you were going to continue, I would like to hear what his additional ask was so that I can bring it back to our office.
Great question. Well, one, continue, I was going to make a motion, or we can make a motion to continue, that the developer continue negotiations with both labor unions, the ironworkers in Laguna. The other ask would be that, in addition to the $8 million for the line and the $400,000 to Valverde Unified, that you work with staff for an additional community benefit, because we are vacating 2 different streets, so that when we come back, we have something more to actually, and staff would be in a better position to ascertain this, something that actually benefits, say, an average Paris kid, something measurable in terms of a community benefit.
Like a scholarship?
I know I'm kind of vague. Maybe not a scholar, maybe we have a deficit in our skills center, or something in a park on the north end of town, something maybe with Valverde they have additional need for, something along those lines.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and that's fine, Councilman Rab, but I just want to throw in, and she made that comment, and they've been here for a long time. It was First Duke, and they don't leave our community, and they give every year to all our sporting events. Anything we request, they're constantly giving. So just keep that in the burner. And on top of that, they're going to throw in that, what once started as a $3 million drainage fix is now $8 million. So anyway, I just don't want to drain the bank. Councilman
Yeah, just the
Corona?
last few comments. I mean, going back to Councilman Rapp, but to be fair, we are running out of space. So when Duke first started, we had plenty of land, and now we're kind of shrinking in size. So every plot of land is now worth more for our residents in that sense. But one comment I do got to address though. It's just kind of, and I'm not trying to, I see things are progressing. I think things are moving. I think this was a good conversation. I wished it was it would have happened prior to this. I saw business cards getting passed around, which I thought was great. But speaking for someone that's part of the union, you know, I never want to focus on just my union. Okay, I do have my blood brother here, so if I eat, then I want to make sure my brother's eating too. You know, it's very important that we go and kind of support each other too. I've been to his house plenty of times. He's having a full-blown barbecue without inviting me though. But no, like with the point I have though is it's very important that we kind of look out for each other, even if it's not our own union. I know we have to prioritize our own union, but it's very important that we also look out for what's the benefit, because when it comes down to it, we're all part of the unions, and at the same time we're all part of the same community too. So if I'm eating, I want to make sure my neighbors are eating too. But that's all I want to say. But it looks like things are progressing. I do agree with Councilman Rab. Maybe we can push this back to another meeting. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm going to close this public hearing. Call time for that is 8, and nothing else? 8:10, we're going to close the public hearing, Madam Clerk. Thank you, everybody, for all your conversation, and Rab's already doing what I wanted to do, so the motion is, repeat your motion, please.
I'll make a motion that we continue this matter.
I want to be date specific, because on fairness to the
I believe our next meeting is
applicant.
October, either the 10th or the 11th.
Is that enough time, Nicole? October 10th, October 11th? Unions? Okay, that's our next meeting, so it's like,
Yeah, I'd make a motion that we continue this matter to October 10th, so the developer can engage in further conversations with both labor unions and consult with staff for additional community benefit agreement that directly benefits the children of Paris.
are you seconding?
I will second that.
Mayor Pro Tem still had comments, I'm sorry. And you too. They're following the rules and the mayor wasn't following them. All right, next in line is, hold on to the vote. Mayor Pro Tem, you have comments?
Yes, thank you. And I'd like to thank the public speakers for voicing their concerns, and it sounds like progress has been made as far as the construction side. I had some questions regarding the operational side of this project. Now, in the report, it mentions that air quality, it was contradicting. It said that there wasn't enough air quality impacts. However, in other portions of the material, it mentioned that there was. Now, we've had projects introduced in the past that our environmentalist has mentioned that no amount of trees, no amount of mitigating factors could combat those concerns of air quality, greenhouse gases. So I just want to know what differentiates this project, what helps mitigate those impacts, because this is 35 acres of industrial, so just wanted to clarify that.
Are you asking staff?
Whoever can answer that question.
Well, that can only be staff unless I reopen the public hearing.
I would defer this to the environmental consultant, if we can. wanna bring,
Ours?
The developer's environmental
All right,
consultant.
so now I got to reopen the public hearing. 8:07. 8:30. Oh my God, this clock is falling behind. Okay.
Thank you. Eliza Laws again, Albert A. Webb Associates. I'll try to address your question as best I can. I'm not sure exactly where you were looking in the draft DIR, but from an air quality standpoint, the operational emissions were evaluated and estimated. They were below the South Coast Air Quality Management District thresholds of significance, which is the jurisdiction responsible for maintaining the local air quality down here in Southern California. Based on those emissions, which are primarily from the mobile sources, the cars and trucks using the site, those emissions were below those air quality thresholds. There are multiple different analyses done. There are air quality impacts evaluated for the region as a whole. Those emissions were below those thresholds. There is also a localized impact analysis that is done that is more specific to the project area. Those emissions were also evaluated for the operational aspect of the project and were below the thresholds from South Coast. There was also a health risk assessment prepared, both for the operational mobile source truck emissions, Those emissions were below the South Coast AQMD cancer risk and non-cancer risk thresholds. And there was also a carbon monoxide hotspot analysis done that was also determined to not contribute to a carbon monoxide hotspot.
Okay. And this is, so they're below even before you've applied any type of mitigation factors? Is that what I'm
Correct.
understanding?
That is correct.
Okay.
And the project did account for any mitigation measures that were already required by the Paris Valley Commerce Center Specific Plan EIR that was done in 2011. So those were incorporated as well. Some of those mitigation measures include things like electrifying the dock doors at the truck docks, limiting idling, making sure that the truck emissions are, grants and retrofits are applied for and used if obtained, and another several operational mitigation measures as well.
Okay, okay. Thank you for answering that. And now this, it sounds like we're bringing this item back for a future meeting. So is it possible to request from our staff to compare another sizable similar project, industrial project, and see why this one appears to be different, the results are? So that's just something I like to look forward to reading in future reports.
Okay, we'll make those analysis.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Rogers?
I just want to take a moment to thank the developer for the willingness to meet with all union representatives and to understand our plight in this, to make sure things are done equally and fairly to all of the unions involved. We support all of the unions here in our city, and we really thank you for your willingness to understand what we go through and to have the conversation, to come to some type of resolution where everyone is at the table, everyone has a small piece of the project, so it makes it much better project when we don't have anybody coming up to object to the project that represents any one of the unions. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Any final, this is really the last call now, so we can close this and call for the vote. Anybody, last minute comments? All right, we're going to close the hearing at,
To me, it seems like, again, my name is Robert Lugan, Local 416 iron worker, 41 years, lifetime honorary member. I lived in inland for 40 years. What I see here, sir, is if you're a professional surgeon, you've been trained, you went through college, would you tell a podiatrist to do your line of work? And that's what I see, and that's all I need to say. Thank you.
thank you. Okay, we're going to close the public hearing at 8:17. We do have a motion and a second. Call the vote, please.
And to clarify, the motion was what, Councilman Reb?
Well, we can clarify it again.
Yeah, can we please?
You want to repeat it again?
Motion to continue this matter to the next scheduled council meeting, October 10th, 2023, so that the developer can initiate or continue talks with both unions and reach out to our staff so that they could discuss an additional community benefit agreement and factor in the items Councilwoman Magangi, or Nava brought up regarding the ERR and similar situated projects.
I thought you had seconded. No?
That's okay. No,
Oh, I clicked your name there.
that's okay.
Okay, officially
Okay,
now.
I'll withdraw. Hold on, I'm withdrawing. Well, it won't let me. No, see?
Can you switch it down there?
Oh, okay.
Second by Councilman Corona. Please call the vote.
Five oh, motion approved.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We'll give a minute to have the room cleared out. Okay, moving on, item 12 is our business items. 12A was consideration to receive and file a provide direction of staff regarding proceedings with feasible studies on the Ethernet Road. We're going to pull that item for now, but because it's on our agenda, I'm going to allow for public comment if any members of the public was here to speak on that item. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak on 12A?
Yes, sir. Jalister Corona.
Hello, good evening. I'm Hollister Corona. I've been a resident here for 35 years. So good evening to the mayor, city council, and staff. I'm going to speak about how to provide direction to staff regarding proceedings with feasibility studies to restrict truck access on Ethernet Road, business item 12A. So my mother is not here, but she asked me to speak on her behalf as well. So she's the grandmother of my daughters, and we use Ethernet Road like all the time, like 3, 4 times, 5 times a day. On the weekends, every day we go to work, taking our daughters to school. So this is for my mother, again, the grandmother. As I am sure you are aware, the Ethernet Bridge was built over 30 years ago in 1992, when there were very few houses and virtually no industry. Even the most recent available certification of the bridge in 2022, the bridge's classification function was rural minor arterial, okay? In 2020, during the pandemic, there were already an average of 36,000 daily trips over the bridge, which is expected to double in the next 15 years. Even now, I have experienced sitting through 3 lights as a semi-truck attempts to make a right turn from the southbound off-ramp onto Ethernet Road. The ramp is too steep and the trucks are too large to maneuver across the road and end up blocking both lanes. The worst is when they are attempting to turn left onto Barnett because they block all traffic from Case Road. When the trucks are attempting to enter the northbound traffic from Ethernet, they often take 2 or 3 light changes as they struggle to shift gears and situate for the turn. They take up both the turn lane and through lane because the truck is too long. This backs up traffic all the way beyond Barnett as cars can't get by. As a concerned citizen, I invite the council to drive on Ethernet Road between 7 a.m. and 8:30 any school day morning to personally experience the frustrating drive times. While doing so, please imagine the havoc. A constant platoon of 80,000-pound trucks, 18-wheelers, etc., will bring to Paris residents as they try to get to work, conduct business, and transport our youngest citizens to and from school. So that's for my grandmother. As for me, as a father, as a teacher, as a resident, I'm concerned about the safety for my kids in particular. There's a lot of other concerns, right, like pollution and traffic, but it's the 18-wheelers. My father was a truck driver, 18-wheeler for many years. I know what they're capable of doing. We all know. So please restrict truck access until Ethernet Bridge is expanded. Ethernet Bridge is 1 lane going over, 1 lane coming back. Allowing 18-wheelers to mix with residential commuters creates a very dangerous situation. To the negative effects of allowing 18-wheelers or other large trucks in Ethernet.
Sorry, Mr. Hollister, or Corona, your time's up. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else?
That is all.
Anybody in the audience wishing to speak on this item? Come on up, Mr. Hawkins.
Good evening again, council member, mayor, staff. I lived in the Monument area for 10 years, like I said, and I use Ethernet very often. Take my kids to school or where they need to go, and also for my commute to work. And sometimes I see trucks on Ethernet make illegal U-turns. I see them blow through red lights because it is a 50-mile-an-hour street, and they're too heavy to stop. See them almost crash into cars. So they're very dangerous. Plus, the pollution, just like Mr. Corona was saying, it's not good for us. We have enough warehouses already. Now Menifee wants to put their warehouse on their side and add to the pollution. I came over here from Fontana. I've been in a world of pollution with trucks, and I try to get away and live in Monument Park, which is, it's a very nice area that doesn't have, well, it didn't have any trucks at that time. Now it's, you know, filled with trucks up and down the 215. So I oppose them going down Barton to the bridge. The bridge is not, needs to be retrofitted first. And who's going to fit the bill for that? Menifee? I don't. They didn't even pay for Ethernet to be extended. So I oppose. Well, I don't want them on our Ethernet at all, indefinitely. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we're going to close public comment, 8:26. We'll move on to item 12B. These are business items continued. 12B is consideration to receive and file a report regarding the Paris Historic Theater Restoration Project located at 279 South D Street. This is going to be introduced by our Director of Economic Development and Housing, Michelle Ogawa.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This item tonight is to get the discussion started for the restoration of our historic theater in downtown along D Street. So I'm going to start with some brief background and then go into a couple different conceptual scope of works that have been developed over the years to give you a point of reference. And then what we'd like from Council is some direction on where you'd like to take the project now. So to start with, this is an aerial that shows the red outline, shows where the theater is located along D Street at the northeast corner of D Street and East 3rd Street. And to provide a little bit of background, the city acquired the theater in 2009. Since then, there has been some needed maintenance work and facade improvement work from 2010 to 2013. That's what the work consisted of. And then in 2011, the design of the first renovation project was completed. And the theater was also acquired to be renovated for community use as a community venue. And so you'll see in later slides, you'll see the conceptual drawings of the 2011 concept as well as the 2018 concept. In those years in between, there was some necessary work that was needed on the building, a partial seismic retrofit of the roof and trusses, along with some interior cleaning of the building. Outside of that, the full renovation work has really not been touched since the acquisition. And then you'll also see in 2018, the city applied for a grant funding of a full interior and exterior seismic retrofit, which included a full ADA upgrade as well as substantial structural improvements to the building. And so those two concepts from 2011 and 2018 will be shared, the general conceptual drawings and the main points of the scope of work will be shared as a point of reference for you to have your discussion. And what we are requesting is some direction on where you'd like us to take the project from here. And then our recommendation to keep in mind is to commission a feasibility study for the assessment and options of the maximum use of the space, where we would be able to take your direction, work with a consultant with proven experience on these types of projects, and then bring you back more specific options and full scope of works for the restoration. So to start with, these are some existing conditions. Excuse me. We also have our interim building official and fire marshal here to assist in taking any questions you might have on the existing structure or either of the concepts that we'll be going over tonight. The existing conditions of the building requires some substantial maintenance and restoration. You see here on the left, the exterior all the way around the building, and some of the main photos of the primary work that needs to be done inside the building, which includes, as you can see, those are some photos of the entryway lobby, and then, of course, the stage area. The ceiling has caved in and is all over the stage and the seats there. And then the bottom right corner is the control booth on the second floor for the film screening. And in addition to that, there is also some work that will be required, including a full ADA upgrade, which does also include in that stage area and flattening out of the slope, as well as renovation of all of the restrooms in the facility. So to start with, we have the 2011 conceptual design. This was developed more so as the initial restoration project concept. It was a little less technical and a little more what the city desired at the time to see the theater become. So this, on the left-hand side, you have some of what was included in that scope. I don't believe cost estimates were run on this particular concept, but these conceptual drawings were developed. So this included, of course, the ADA compliance, which included the seating, existing stage, and existing restrooms. And then it also added, and you'll see a site layout in following slides as well. It also added a full restaurant, outdoor dining space, and a black box theater with an outdoor stage as well. So there's a good deal of added on to this concept. So this, for that concept, these are the different views from the different directions, from D Street and East 3rd Street. This, we had day and night views done as well from the D Street view. And then this is where you see the layout and what's added. So actually, this shows the darker shaded area is the existing footprint along D and 3rd. Everything else in the gray area to the north of that along D Street was added on in this concept, and that included the restaurant, indoor, outdoor stage, and the black box theater. And this is another view of that site plan. And a more detailed view of the layout. And then this moves on to the 2018 conceptual design. Again, this design was a little more technical in nature. It was for an application for grant funding for a full interior and exterior retrofit of the building. So these drawings are a little more detailed and technical and didn't have as much added on to the building, but included the full ADA compliance upgrade as well as all of the primary systems within the structure and replacements of doors, windows, the monument sign, or the landmark sign there. And then an addition of an electronic reader board and marquee on the exterior. And the added component on this, which you'll again see in the site layout, is an outdoor stage that attaches to the building itself, which you see in this rendering along D Street. And then these are the different directional elevations for the 2018 concept. And then this would be, this included less changes to the inside of the building. So the general layout of the building would stay the same. It would just be brought up, upgraded to current ADA compliance and building code use. And this is a different view of the floor plan. So with that, that was to give you some ideas of conceptual scope of works that have been developed in previous years. Our recommendation is to conduct a feasibility study for the assessment and options for the maximum use of the building and space. And we would, in commissioning that feasibility study, we'll take any direction that you provide here tonight for what you'd like to see in the project. And then we would bring back different options and cost estimates at that point. So with that, we can take any questions that you might have, or you're free to discuss and provide direction. And again, we do have our building official here.
Thank you for the presentation. All right, I got Councilman Rogers in the queue.
In the staff report, according to the 2018 estimates, it would be approximately $6.5 million just to renovate and bring up to ADA standards. Did we ever look at what would cost to demolish the building and start from scratch? Because I know we're not spending quite that much for the skills center, $6.5 million.
I don't believe that was included. I believe the project scope at the time was for the renovation of the existing tenant improvement.
I know in 2018, but I'm talking about now. Have we ever looked at what that cost would be?
Not to my knowledge, and I believe that those cost estimates would be very different today as well, but we can look into that.
Did you say scrap the building and start over?
For $6.5 million? I think it would be very doable.
If I may. Councilwoman Rogers, no, the city never took on exploring what it would cost to demolish the building. Now, the $6 million estimate was based off of a 2018 estimate, which the cost today would be a lot more. Probably closer to that. The other thing to consider, the city did not consider at the time was to demolish the building because of its historical significance. But that could certainly be an option that could be part of the feasibility study to possibly keep the facade and demolish behind it, gut it. So those are different things we can take a look at and bring back some options.
Yeah, I just think before we spend that kind of money to rehab an existing structure that throughout the years the weather has kind of beaten up the building. And I remember when we first had the building, and that was back in the 90s, and then we sold it to the Church of Christ, and then we bought it back from them. So I remember the whole history, and we did talent shows there when I was on the Performing Arts Commission way back when. But I just think that we need to do something with it. I just think if we do a study that we want to look at what it would cost to rehab versus to completely start with a new structure.
Councilman Corona?
Yeah, I do want to thank you for bringing this up. I did have an opportunity to go see it with Councilwoman, Mayor Pro Tem Nava, and it definitely needs work. With the roof stuff, I'm not concerned about that. It looks a lot worse than what it is, but most of that stuff's drywall. But I do agree with Councilwoman Rogers. I think we need to look at every option. I'm not saying that to tear it down is the best option, but maybe it could be a hybrid. Maybe keep the facade and then find out what the best use is. I know one thing in our city that we always lack is facilities. There's not a lot of things you can do with the sloped floor, right? I don't see this being another movie theater again, right? But it might be an auditorium maybe, where you could kind of go there. Maybe you have concerts and stuff like that, and every once in a while we could turn it into a theater, show old movies and stuff like that, classic movies that I was never old enough to see in a movie theater, like Back to the Future, for example, or something like that. Yeah, just some classic movies and stuff like that. But at the same time, it could be a dual purpose for facilities as well too. I grew up seeing this my whole life, just walking by it. With the whole signage, at the very least, we need to give it a new paint job because it's kind of a blight right now. It's not a beautiful building right now. It could look really nice, get the lights up and running. What we do with all this other stuff, I don't have a sentimental attachment to it. I even talked to some of our older residents that grew up here from the 60s, and some of them even stated they're okay with just tearing it down. But putting something new, right? I would still like to see the facade, maybe at least that signage thing, that kind of curved signage that we see there. But I think the goal is to make it look better than it's ever looked before. Because I'm gonna be honest, it was never a movie palace. People think about these old theaters from the 20s. It never looked like that ever. It was just basically a movie theater, and kind of like the look that you have in there is pretty much what it's always been. The seats, I heard, though, were a lot more plush and comfortable, though. And I think they might have had less seats, though, at one time. But I think every option needs to be looked at. Obviously, working with the Historical Society, I talk to people, and yeah, they want to see it rehabbed. But when you tell them the price of it, then they're like, oh, okay. I guess, it's maybe not a priority at this moment. I mean, there are things, just like the Skills Center, that's providing skills for jobs. That's life-changing. And this is very important. It's important to keep our culture and our heritage and historical buildings. But at the same time, I think maybe we could get a new use for this as well, too. That's all the comments I have right now. Thank you.
Councilman Rab?
Yes, I'd like to agree with my colleagues regarding the theater. I would want us to do a full analysis of the theater, particularly looking at any contaminants, asbestos. A lot of buildings from that period may have that, so it may be cost prohibitive to renovate what we have. We may want to start from scratch, or maybe a hybrid. I know back in the 40s, they gutted the whole entire White House and basically did it from scratch, but they kept the exterior of the White House, and that building was 150 years old at the time. So I would like to agree with Councilman Corona. If you would have told me this 8 years ago when I first got on the council, I would have said, no, we have to save it as a historic movie theater. But I do think if we save the exterior of it, or even if we recreate the exterior of it, just given the emphasis that it was never, you know, like a grand movie palace, like the theater out in Riverside. What's the one in Riverside? The Fox Theater, or the one in the Californian in San Bernardino. But I do think the 2018 option is probably our best bet. 2011 was really, really nice, but we're all out for that. Yeah, that was more aspirational than and grounded in reality, and not the. But I think 2018 is something that we could do, and it may be a theater, it may be a stage. We may want to partner with the high school district. I know Paris High has their new theater now, but the elementary school district, which is right around the corner, Paris Elementary and Park Avenue are right down the street. So maybe if they need to have a program, maybe we can enter into a joint use agreement with them. But I do think that I am open to all options, and one of those options may include a complete demolishing the theater if it is cost prohibitive. I know when I went in there, we did our tour with mayor, myself, and city staff about a year ago. And just based on the photos, and I pulled up the photo on my phone from July 1st of 2022, I do see part of the ceilings, actually more of the ceilings collapsed since that 1 year period. So I do think there's a ceiling issue. And also the slope of the theater, if we were to make it ADA compliant, I don't believe we could have that same incline. And so that may be an additional cost of bringing that up so that, because it was hard walking down as a fairly healthy person down that theater. I can't imagine someone in a wheelchair trying to go down there, or someone who needs assistance. So like my colleagues, I'm open up to all options, converting it, keeping it as a theater, maybe even gutting it completely and turning it into office space and making like a shared work environment. I do think that we need to maybe do an exterior clean, like a spray clean, maybe throw some paint up there so it at least looks decent from the street. So that's my comments.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. I also agree with my colleagues, and thank you so much for the tour and the presentation. One thing that hasn't been mentioned that I think might be beneficial is showing the cost for phasing. So I know, like Council Member Rab mentioned that one was more aspirational versus one's more realistic. But if we could just have maybe for future items the development of it, but I would love to see something to kick it off and get the best and highest use for our community to start utilizing it, because if we don't make moves now, then everything seems to be going up. So I just want to make sure we get started on something sooner than later. That's all my comments. Thank you.
All right. Well, I do not agree with the council. To me, this is a historic building. I'm not saying it's the White House, but I've heard from a lot of people, they want to see this renovated. The pictures, yeah, it looks bad, but that's because there was water damage, and this is old school. That's plaster. It's not drywall. Plaster falls apart. It's just coming down off the ceiling. I don't know how many millions or thousands they already put into the building to retrofit the building, so it's not going to come down. We just need to repair these things. Yeah, there's a lot of trash in the front entry. We could have cleaned that up before we taking photos. I mean, we kind of penalize our own selves by not cleaning the place up before taking photos. I'm not looking at it to be a movie theater. I'm looking at it more as a performance theater that everybody that I talked to in the community thought we were doing with this, even with the past console when they had all these beautiful renderings. And I really personally prefer, is it 2011? Yes. And I'm not, regardless of the dollar amount, it's not, I'm not seeking general fund or taxpayers' money. I'm talking, let's get some grants, all the developers that are always constantly developing the projects, so we can renovate this place utilizing those funds and not touching our general fund and our taxpayers' monies. I think this would be an awesome project. The only thing I can agree with you right now is, and I keep saying, is we need to at least paint the outside. The greenish portion with the Paris sign, that's sheet metal going across or whatever material it is. It's not wood. I mean, we need to protect that so that doesn't get deteriorated. They removed the ticket box, what do you call that? Ticket booth. Ticket booth. You know, that's authentic, but they moved it for a certain reason, but we can put that back when this gets done. But as far as tearing it down, I am totally against that, and I would want to have a good community outreach to agree on tearing that down, that beautiful building down. So I don't want to keep beating a dead horse. If there's no more questions, I'm going to call for public comments.
Just a quick question. To our, I guess the
Building official.
Building official. Just have a question for you. So for a building built in the 40s, I know the standards are a little bit different, but I just see this as possibly a fire trap. Is it like would this building pass in current standard? I'm not talking about the ADA, but like would it pass building standards of today?
So the codes change every 3 years, and so today's standards are much more restrictive than in the past. However, in 2018, we included provisions to update the fire protection for that building. So that was, the proposal was put fire sprinklers in there and upgrade the fire protection at the same time. There will be funds available since the floods happened in Riverside County. FEMA will be setting out more grants, and that's a possibility for the city to apply for. When we applied in 2018, we did get feedback from FEMA. FEMA indicated that they were willing to give the city funds, not the full $5 million, but about 3.5, and they would not cover the ADA upgrades or the outside deck or performance area, but they would cover the entire retrofit. The 1.5 million from the city, it's a requirement for FEMA for the city to have 20% for their fair share. So funds, there are possibility of grants to do this, and the cost is probably going to be $8+ million at least to do that. But yeah, to answer the question more directly, yes, we could improve the fire protection of that building.
Okay, and then going back to what Councilman Rapp said about asbestos, was there any signs of that in there? Or?
So part of this remodel, we would have to do a hazmat study. We'd have to look for lead paint and asbestos. And we would do that anyway for any remodel. We do that for all the city buildings. So we would look at that, and then we would have to have that removed. But that could also be part of the grant application.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, I think that ends the comments. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
No, sir.
Anybody in the audience wishing to speak at this time? All right, thank you very much, Michelle, for your presentation. Do you guys have enough direction? Okay. All right, 12C is consideration to adopt proposed resolution number next in order, implementing residential design guidelines aimed at establishing design guidelines for single-family and multifamily residential developments. And this is going to be given by Director of Development Services, Mr. Kenneth Fung.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. This will be presented by our Planning Manager, Patricia Brennitz.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, council members, city staff. I'm happy to bring to you the long-awaited residential design guidelines for the city of Paris. They have been designed to provide developers, architects, and the public in general a clear picture of what the desired architectural and site design characteristics for single-family and multiple-family developments would be appropriate for the city. Provide design guidelines to contribute to a high quality of life and supplement the zoning code regulations. The design guidelines provide different topics, including general design, single-family design guidelines, multifamily design guidelines, landscaping, building design, and architectural styles. And these chapters have been designed to make it easy for the developers to follow. I'm not going to go through everything in the design guidelines, but I just want to highlight a few points for each one of the main chapters. For single-family design guidelines, I like to highlight that it's recommended that the units are oriented towards the street, that we de-emphasize the garages, so it's the front of the house is more prominent where the entry is, providing front porches, and adding landscaping for curb appeal. For multifamily, I would like to highlight that it's highly encouraged to provide entry monumentation, adding decorative materials and landscaping, articulating the building facades, providing outdoor spaces accessible to all future residents, providing garages and carports that are architecturally integrated with the design of the buildings, and providing landscaping for shade and screening. The guidelines also include a chapter with 7 distinct architectural styles, which provides roof forms, design elements, and materials and colors appropriate for each style. The guidelines were considered by the Planning Commission on September 6th, and they unanimously recommended that the City Council approve the guidelines with a few recommendations as seen on this slide, and all of the recommendations have been included in the recommended design guidelines. As a matter of record, I'd like to point out that staff received today a letter from the BIA in support of the design guidelines, and they have been distributed for your consideration. With that, I'd like to conclude and recommend that the City Council determine the resolution is exempt from CEQA, so pursuant to Section 15061B3, Common Sense Exemption, and adopt resolution next in order for the adoption of the residential design guidelines. And that concludes staff presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Council, anybody have questions, comments? Councilwoman Rogers?
Just one quick question. Do these guidelines include the recent spurt of the ADUs? The
The A-
smaller houses, the ADUs?
So they would have to also follow the design guidelines, yes.
Okay.
Councilman Rab?
Quick comment. I had an opportunity to review the Planning Commission meeting, and I just want to thank staff, you in particular, for bringing this forward and really factoring in the comments Planning Commission made. I think Commissioner Hammond made a really good point about regarding the older houses having the garage set up front, and then you would have the door way back. A lot of houses built in the 80s had that. I'm glad we're moving away from that, moving the front door up and the garage back. So thanks to Planning Commission, thanks to staff, thank you to you for bringing this forward.
You're welcome.
So I haven't had a chance to thoroughly read. There's a lot of material, but just two things I want to see if you can touch on because they've come up to me during the course before this. I want to make sure vinyl walls in between residentials are okay. And then the return would be a wall. Yeah?
That is correct.
That is
And
correct,
in a residential area that's not against a major street corridor, or if you want to put it, the windows in between homes don't have to have the high fancy finishings like we require the front and the back to have.
Yes, as long as it's visible from the public street, then only. Then if it's not, then it would just be regular trim.
Well, how visible, define visible? I mean, every house in between is visible.
It would be adjacent, the way I think we.
So like,
purpose-
for my classic example, Bradley's a pretty big street behind me. Are you saying if I looked up and I would have to see some fancy windows in between those homes?
Yes, if it's adjacent to a public street, is the way it's written.
Public, so a residential street's public, is it not?
Yes, that's correct.
So then, where would that not apply?
It's in the back, let's say between homes. For example, if there's a street, like there's homes on both sides, in between those homes, those wouldn't be required.
So in other words, if you entered a track, obviously the perimeter of the homes you're referring to, and then streets that are inside of that track would not require that.
Correct. I think.
Well,
The-
your verb, I'm not quoting you, but when you said public street, well, that's any street then. That means for every house that falls under.
And so it would be like, it would back into a street. So let's say a corner lot, so it has kind of three sides.
All right, so look, we're not gonna keep this late. I just want if we're all done, I'm gonna do public comment, but whoever does the motion, if you guys would just please, throw that in there, that just to clarify that for the mayor, please. Because I want to move forward on this. This is a very well-needed document. And I'm gonna give some prompts here. I don't know about staff, but I came to Assistant City Manager, Mr. Bucktie, a while back, because I was getting a lot of complaints from builders. And the first thing out of his response was, we need a uniform document. I forget what he called it. And I just totally forgot about it, and here it is. We have it, so thank you for bringing that with staff. All right. Anybody else before we go on public comment? Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
No, sir.
Anybody in the audience wish to speak on this item? Thank you very much. Okay, I'll call for a motion on the resolution. I have a motion by Councilwoman Rogers. Are you also stating that
Yes.
they're going to clarify my little?
Yes.
Okay. And second by Nava, you're good with that? Thank you. All right, call the vote, please.
5-0, motion approved.
Awesome, thank you, guys. Item 13, council communications. Councilwoman Rogers.
Just last Thursday, I had the city engineer and I had the annual 10th meeting for the Central Zone Transportation Improvement Program. And for the city of Paris, we approved for Getz Road between Ethanak and Decase for some construction there, and also the second phase of Paris Boulevard widening. And in January, we will be submitting some new requests for additional improvements that will be voted on in the summer months of 2024. And we're still getting money for existing projects that have already happened, which is the Case Road and the Ethanak Road. They're still giving us some money for those projects that have already been completed.
Thank you. Councilman Reb?
Yes, on Sunday, I had the opportunity to attend First Baptist Church of Paris for their Sunday services. They were celebrating their 99th anniversary. They had a subsequent service at 3:30, but I wasn't able to make that one. But I went to the 99th anniversary, and they really appreciated the certificate the city gave them. I informed them for their 100th, reach out to us, let them know of all future events, to give us ample time to attend
Yes.
and celebrate the 100th anniversary. With that, well, one last thing, those very, very minor, but I was seeing a lot of the speakers. I want to thank all the speakers for coming in. Maybe at the next council meeting, we can remove those 3 rows of chairs, the last 2, so that people can come around that air conditioning thing. Very minor comment, but I'd like to thank all the speakers for coming and speaking today, and I thank everyone for voicing their concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Corona?
Thank you, Mayor. A big thank you to all the speakers for coming out, for giving up your time. I know it's kind of a longer meeting, but we did have some important topics. I do want to give a special thank you to the Historical Society for having a wonderful event. It seemed like they raised $1,000 for their society. Monarca Festival, I attended that as well with the mayor. Really, and Mayor Pro Tem Nava as well too. Just really well turned out. Todek did a wonderful job. So many people were coming from all over. They brought horses, they brought Aztec dances, they had ballet folklorico, good music, everything, and with especially the food was just fantastic. So I think those are their biggest event after not having it for a while, but they did a wonderful job. Thank you for staff for kind of helping them, guiding through the process. And I definitely want to give a special thank you to our staff for dealing with a lot of the mosquito issues. It's still not over, but so we can kind of keep revisiting it. But it's definitely noticeably less mosquitoes, but there's still mosquitoes. And the residents, especially in the Green Valley, they're still feeling all the time. And I'm not too close to that area, but I still get it over there. So if we could kind of just keep revisiting the mosquito issues, because there's still sitting water in the river right now. But besides that, thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. I had the opportunity to participate in the Sierra Vista Elementary Block Party. They were celebrating their 20-year anniversary, and it was a really special event. They had a time capsule and that they opened up, and then they also made one. And interestingly enough, they threw in a face mask. So when they open up their next time capsule, there's going to be a face mask to remind them of the pandemic. So those are all the comments I have for tonight, and thanks to staff and our speakers for lively discussion today. Thank you.
Thank you to all the guests too that spoke this evening, and I'll just highlight 3. And the seniors at the Senior Center had a Mexican Independence Day celebration. Those you got to go to those seniors, man. They have a good time. SoCal Railway, along with the Paris Valley Chamber of Commerce, held probably the first successful Paris Appreciation Day that I've seen so far, that I've been here for 19 years. Very well attended. They had a lot of activities. They had a lot of vendors. It was awesome. They had a lot of trolleys running, so it was a really good event. And as Councilman Corona mentioned about Todak, all I can say is that was immensely well attended. There was a lot of people there, so kudos to them. Brian, are you going to mention that? So kudos to our golf team. They took first place, and you're going to have to remind me where it was at. Maintenance Superintendents Association. Kudos. We have an awesome golf team, in case anybody does not know. So first place. So thank you guys for representing the mayor. Appreciate that. All right. That takes us to item 14, city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Tomorrow night, the city will be having a Measure A Town Hall meeting, and that's on Wednesday, September 27 at 6 p.m. here at the Paris Council Chambers. The meeting will also be live streamed and will be uploaded on our Measure A website. And lastly, the 22nd Annual Rods and Rails event will be held on Saturday, October 7th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Southern California Railway Museum. This is a free event, and there will be live entertainment, activities, food, and vendors, and the classic car and motorcycle show. Registration to participate is still open, and you can visit that website on our Civic Reg platform, City of Paris website. Thank you.
Yeah, and on that note, the SoCal Fair starts October 5th, it looks like. So that's just another reminder as well. And they're also selling already their Thomas the Train, and the big one that I like for the Christmas time, Polar Express. Oh, absolutely. Okay, we've been here long enough. Okay, item 15 is our adjournment. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening, and our listeners and viewers on the cable channels. Have a good evening. We'll see you at our next meeting.